Welcome back to Technologies Now, a business edge, and this is a broker's perspective episode, a show where we talk real estate, technology, marketing, and business strategy with top professionals who are actually in the field doing it today. I'm your host, David Urbach, co-founder of Technologies Now. I'm joined by Dean Miskic, managing broker at Pelican Vista Realty. I have that right, don't I?
Yep.
Okay, good. And an agent at the Lofton Manor team at eXp Realty in beautiful Southwest Florida. Dean has built an impressive business helping clients with luxury real estate, investment properties, and waterfront homes through Cape Coral and the Southwest Florida region. Dean, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, David.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into the business side of things, tell us a little bit about your story. I mean, how did you get into real estate? What drew you into the industry?
Well, it's been 10 years now, actually. And at the time, I was living up in New York and kind of trying to find my way in my 20s, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I took the path of going to college, getting a degree in something. And then I kind of worked my way up in the line of business that I was in at the time. But I just didn't feel something was missing. Just wasn't making the money that I wanted to, didn't have the sense of freedom that I was craving, and just didn't have the challenges. I just didn't feel challenged. And then a friend of mine, kind of suggested I should look into real estate and get my license. And he was pretty successful himself at the time. And I realized, I think I already understand the real estate. I've been kind of part of it, watching my parents kind of go through it themselves and how much it's helped them with their life, just being a homeowner. So I got my real estate license and I gave it a go and I failed miserably.
No.
Yeah. So the first 2 years were very, very difficult. That's what a lot of people don't tell you. So if you don't have the support and the guidance, you really just kind of fish out of water trying to figure out how to breathe. And it was very challenging. I still dove in head first. I remember actually I quit my full-time job and locked myself essentially in my office. I always had a home office. I always liked working from home. But I essentially locked myself in my home office for about 2 weeks and online training for it. And in the third week, I took the test and I passed. So it went by really quick. And then I dove in. But what people don't tell you about this business is, it's a relationship-based business. And it takes time to build those relationships, to build the rapport. And you really got to know somebody to kind of help you initially get started and, learn how to walk. And so, that part really took me 2 years to realize, but it got to the point where I got so frustrated that I was ready just to give it all up. And then I actually met somebody at the end of the 2 years, I met somebody that kind of gave me hope, and he was in the business. And I said, you know what? Let me try this one last time. So I renewed my license. This was going into the third year, and I had the support, training, that I really needed. And I remember that year I sold 33 homes. That was my third year. And
Nice.
I haven't looked back since. I really enjoy what I do. I've become really good at it over the years. And it challenges me, and the best part about it is you can make as much money as you want in the business. It's unlimited income. What you put in is what you get out. And sometimes, you could be putting 80 hours, but you're not going to get that result. So you got to really know how to be efficient with your time and understand who you're talking to, how you're talking to them. So, the beginning parts of the business, with like most small business owners, is difficult. Real estate is not an entire different breed when it comes to that, but it is such an interesting path to take because there's so many different ways you can take. But my favorite part about it has just been meeting a lot of different people over the years and helping them, with their buying and selling needs. And, I started off selling $20,000, $30,000 homes in New York, mobile homes. And sold anything I could get my hands on just for the experience. And now I'm down here in Southwest Florida in Cape Coral, and I get to sell these $1 million luxury homes on the water. And it feels surreal, and I get to do it wearing shorts and flip flops.
Yes.
If you had asked me 10 years ago that this is what I would be doing, I probably would have never believed you. But, you just never know. The opportunity is going to be in front of you. if your eyes are shut. And when I got into this, by the third year, my eyes were wide open. Realized, there's a lot of opportunity in this business, and I just kept my eyes open this whole time.
That's fantastic. So you pretty much found, I don't know if it's exactly a mentor you found, but you definitely found somebody who was very motivated or doing well in real estate. And you needed that conversation that, hey, you can do this, you can do it. And I don't know, is it that turned out to be a mentor of yours, or what would
Then
you?
have to be a business partner, a great
Nice.
friend, a colleague, somebody I depend on. He helped me. I've helped him. We actually created a successful business in New York that we ran together, and we've done a lot of business together. We helped a lot of people, and from that, I met other people as well. So it's a matter of everybody needs a mentor in this business.
Hmm.
I've also met a lot of coaches in this business, and then you think that these coaches know it all, but then you realize even these coaches have a coach.
Right, right. The coaches have a coach. Yes.
Somebody's always relying on somebody else. So even to this day, I've been doing this 10 years. I've sold a lot of real estate, but I still have somebody to fall back on when I need that pick me up or just a question about something. And, so I have somebody I can depend on. People depend on me. So it's an ongoing cycle. You, you know, you can't go in this world by yourself. We need each other. And, you know, I, I know a lot about the business, but I feel like I've only just cracked the shell. There's just so much more to learn. And the more people I meet, the more opportunities I'm presented with.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the fact that you're open or recognizing that we're always learning means you will always learn and always improve and get better at what you're at, as opposed to you could sit there and go, hey, I sell, X amount of homes a year. Life is good, it's perfect, and I don't need anybody else's input. But obviously you're still seeking that and helping others. Are you a mentor for others at this point?
Absolutely. So I actually started my own brokerage. I have two other managing members of this brokerage a couple months ago, and we started Pelican Vista Realty here in Cape Coral, and now we have about 10 agents in the team. I personally train, mentor these agents up there for whenever they need it. I want them to be successful. I want them to grow with me. I want me to grow with the brokerage as well. One of the best parts about growing your business and becoming successful is bringing others along with you, and you just wouldn't feel the same doing it by yourself.
No, that makes sense. If you can, well, I mean, as you found the ability to work, or not the ability, the need, the necessity for all us to work together, and we could all, maybe it's the rising tide raises all boats kind of thing, right? It's kind of how
Absolutely.
it's kind of what you're saying. That's really what I'm hearing, and that's a fantastic message, you know.
And it,
And then also recognizing that it started with, hey, this is not working for me at all, and you were out on your own boat, right? And no one was helping raise the tide so you could all do better. And then you found that magic. So that's so I actually asked this later, but what do you recommend for someone starting out in real estate, or really kind of maybe it's even in any business starting out? What advice do you give them?
well, don't do what I did.
Good start.
What I did initially was, I got my license and I went to join one of the most successful brokerages in the area. They had 50 agents at the time. And I'm thinking, hey, if I join the most successful brokerage, I'll be just as successful as the rest of the agents. But the problem with that is you don't get that one-on-one support, the one-on-one mentorship, because there are so many agents, it's hard to keep up with them. And I remember they only had like trainings like once a month. If I had to contact a broker or, ask questions, it was very difficult to reach him. When I, by the third year in the business, I was working with just one other person who was the broker. It was just me and him. And so you get a lot of guidance from that. And the opportunities were there where I was able to help him with a lot of the listings and working leads and just learning from each other. Prior to getting into real estate, I've been in sales. I've sold anything from socks to cars to anything in between. So I've always enjoyed working with people, but real estate was a completely different animal. And you always think you have to play by the books, but with real estate, it's really different. Once I realized a basic concept where it was like relationships over transactions,
Hmm.
that's something that really kind of changed it for me. You just focus on helping the person, really taking care of their needs. From that, you take care of their needs, you get paid from it. And it's a repeat business. So I've always been a big aspect of customer service, but this is completely different. I'm not working with customers. I'm working with clients who I am representing. They're trusting me with a big purchase. And I always took that to heart. But uh, uh, I came to this country in 1998 and seeing my parents struggle just to buy a house, not having, the guidance to be able to just put together a purchase contract, and then seeing people coming out of the woodworks to help them. That was another motivating factor, and I've helped a lot of people over the years who just, especially first time home buyers, who don't know where to start. The basic stuff of buying homes is overwhelming, and it's a big deal for people. So to this day, I'd say, I enjoy selling these multi-million-dollar homes, but one of the things that I still enjoy doing the most is giving somebody, a first-time home buyer, the first key to the property. Whether it's $200,000, $1 million, whatever it is, if it's their first property, that first feeling you get from that sense of accomplishment, that's a very special feeling. And I remember it myself, when I bought my first house.
No, that is very special. And the fact that you feel the gratitude of being part of that whole situation, that's the wrong word for it. Being part of that, and I was going to say transaction, but that's not even it because you already said, which is a very well spoken phrase, is relationship over transaction, and that's how you're doing your business. So I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's a culmination of having a relationship with those people and bringing them through the process to where they can own their first home, and they get that reward, and you get some reward from that too, not only monetarily, of course, but obviously you're getting that emotional feedback on that piece of it. Not to get weird on the emotional side of it, but that seems like that feeds you as well, right?
It does, it's the experience, it's the journey.
Journey.
And you learn just to be part of that journey. And sometimes it's not a pleasant journey. It's very difficult. You're dealing with a lot of ups and downs. I have clients who call me, especially nowadays. It's so difficult to get a mortgage. They ask for your firstborn's blood. It's difficult. They're just asked for so much information, so much paperwork, and people get very frustrated. They call me. They're on the brink of tears. They're like, I don't know if I can continue doing this. And you try to talk them off the ledge to make them realize this is all part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This is part of the process. You give them that confirmation to let them know that they're still doing the right things. I just went through a very difficult deal that we ended up having to extend out 3 weeks. And same thing, this guy was just very frustrated with the bank, very frustrated with the process. And it was one of those things where a couple times a week I'm getting that call and talking him off the ledge, making him realize this is okay. You're doing all the right things. We've come a long way. This isn't something that started 30 days ago. This process started with this client over 12 months ago. You know, the point of realizing what his credit score was to understanding where he wants to be, we helped him get there, and it took exactly 13 months actually. So what a lot of people forget, is you see, we like to post our accomplishments, obviously, on social media, so people understand that we are doing business. But what people don't realize always is that one accomplishment that you're seeing right now started sometimes 12, 13 months ago, sometimes 2 years ago. But there's a lot that goes in the back end that people don't realize. I saw this meme the other day that made me laugh. It said, an agent will solve 30 problems in the back end without you realizing it. And then you get to a smooth transaction. And it's so true. There's so many times where like there's an issue in the back end, we take care of it, and the buyer or the seller have no clue that this was ever an issue.
Nice.
But it's from experience. We do understand sometimes that, some things do fall through the cracks, and there's new guidelines constantly coming up where we don't expect these things until it happens. And then you're being reactive to the situation. But in most cases, when you do have an experienced agent, we're proactive to make sure that we meet the deadline. So that way we can hand you that key at closing date instead of giving you bad news saying, hey, we got to extend the closing out another couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really likes moving. It's a pain having to pack and pay for moving expenses, but there's that excitement to it. And the last thing you want to hear is like, hey, we're not ready to move for another week because this and this happened. And sometimes it's completely out of our control sometimes because the banks are very, very difficult right now to give out a loan.
So is the key having experience in this space? Obviously, that makes all the difference, no doubt about that. or is it anticipating, or is it having the best back end systems with your transaction management people, or I don't know, what's the secret sauce here?
It's a little bit of everything. It really is. But I think what boils down to is, communication, effective communication, and being either proactive or reactive. So I tend to be very proactive, so I don't get surprises because I do over the years. Out of experience, I get to be proactive. But even sometimes, I get a situation where I'm so surprised by something, but I tend to be one of the things that I really focus on is being responsive. If I see something comes up to me and it's an issue, I might have other things in front of me. I'll push it to the side to make sure, hey, we need to take care of this. You got to prioritize your day. Every day I come into the office, the first thing to do is I make a to-do list. I prioritize things that I have to do. But as the day goes by, you have to start, moving the list up and down as phone calls start coming in. You know, um, so you just got to be flexible. You got to be very flexible. You're not taking too hard. Some people are so stuck on a schedule. They're like, I got to get this done before I contact this person. Well, listen, sometimes that call you're expecting, they need to listen to you. They need to hear your voice right now to calm them down before they lose it.
Yes.
And so that very, very rarely do I ever not take a phone call from a client, especially when we're actively going through a contract or something, because people get very, very emotional during this process. So it's important just to be there for them.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest purchase most people ever make. So yeah, and it is there's a lot on the line. You talked about moving, you talked about, even getting to the point where you could make the purchase, preparing for that. And some people have a longer journey than others, obviously. So you're playing the hat, you're having the different hats of, you're the real estate professional, you're the counselor, or the financial advisor. I mean, I can probably go on and on, right? I mean, you probably count on, both hands how many roles you have to play to make this all work. And then you add your experience in the back of it, you know when to play what role, right? And that's part of your relationship, I would say. I don't know.
Yes, wear a lot of hats. You go to college and you tell yourself, I'm going to work towards a title. And then in your head, you get to that title and you're like, that's my job, that's my title. But like as a realtor, as a broker right now, the title is the last thing I care about. And, because there's so many different aspects of the business that you do. At the end of the day, you just do whatever you need to do to take care of your clients' needs and, get them over the closing table. So, holding their hand throughout the whole process. It is a big deal, it really is. And again, especially for the first time, somebody going through it, they have no clue what to expect. And again, I've done over 300 transactions in the last 10 years. And even now, I still get surprised sometimes, but that's okay. I keep an open mind and I try not to get frustrated about it because, I'm the calm. You try to be the calm and for everybody else's sake.
Yes. Yeah, you have to be, someone's got to be the calm one. And
Yeah.
if you get frazzled, no, everyone's in worse shape. So, Dean, that can't happen.
Well,
We were talking before we got started here about the weather. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Today was a pretty nice day. It was 55 degrees and sunny, but it could be 0 degrees in a couple of weeks. It's just how it works. Tell us about why people like Southwest Florida. Why should they come down there, and why should they, tell us about that.
yeah. Well, for me, it's the lifestyle. I would never encourage anybody to go somewhere where I wouldn't want to live myself, right?
Good
And
advice.
I moved down here 5 years ago, and I absolutely love it down here. I love the lifestyle; it's just so simple. Things are just so much simple down, And this is typically what I wear every single day, which is like a polo shirt, shorts, and flip flops. And I get to wear this to work, and I get to do this as a living. The crazy thing is this is kind of also how we built the foundation of our business. This is what people want to see because a lot of the people that we get to transact with are people out of state who are looking to move to the area. So you're selling them the lifestyle. And so I'm not the guy that's going to show up to an appointment in a suit by any means, because that's just not me. If you're looking for that guy, that's okay. Um, but I'm very relaxed. I try to go in there. We're trying to find out what my clients' needs are best, and then you try to take care of the needs as best as you can. But people want to see the lifestyle down there, and it's the sun, it's the beach, it's yeah, it's the sun year round. Most of the homes down here that we sell, they have pools. So everybody has a pool down here. We're close to the beach. There's always something to do. I mean, just outside our office, there's a dive bar right now with people doing karaoke. You know, it's 76 degrees right now, and it's after 7 p.m. But it's just the lifestyle for me is what does it. And, and I lived for majority of my life in the cold, with the four seasons, and I lived that, but you get sick and tired of something. And essentially you tell yourself, I need to change. And remember when I moved down here officially full time, I was in that vacation mode probably for about 3 years, where every day I would wake up and I'm still thinking I'm on vacation. And it was surreal to me. I was like, I can't believe I've been in this life. What was I waiting for? And sometimes the hardest part is just getting up and doing something. And for me, it was my wife that eventually said to me, I'm sick and tired. It's cold. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Let's go to Florida. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
Okay.
But then, we used to come down here every year for vacation. That was our main vacation spot, and it was always Cape Coral. There was something about Cape Coral that we're always drawn to. It was simple. People really don't know where it is on the map, but now it's getting to really be known. It's one of those places that, once you get here and you see how unique it is, you kind of have no choice but to like it. And I've had clients that have come down here, David, I'm no kidding. They've come down here, they've spent one day with me, and they've decided to buy in Cape Coral.
You're the poster child for Cape Coral, I think. The flip flops, the shorts, I mean, the whole deal.
It's sells itself, it really does, and it's a beautiful place. We're kind of close to everything. It's still affordable compared to other places in Florida. We have a lot of new construction, but it's just a unique place. We actually have more canals in people's backyards, like water frontage, than more canals than Venice, Italy. Yeah. So imagine just being in your backyard as a canal, and there's dolphins swimming there, manatees swimming there. I mean, you got incredible fishing right in the backyard. So it's like the boating capital of Southwest Florida. So it's a very unique. But most people, when you tell them Cape Coral, they really don't know where it is. So you say Fort Myers, and they're like, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
What looks like a small city, we actually have 225,000 people here, and we're only at 60% capacity. So we still have a ways to go. And again, this wasn't planned. When I first came down here, I was driving all the way from Punta Gorda down to Marco Island, wherever my clients needed me. I remember I put on my first year I was down here, I put like 18,000 miles in my car, taking care of my clients. And then by the second year, I realized, man, there's so many opportunities at Cape Coral. I was like, I don't have to go anywhere. And over the last 5 years, I'd say 95% of my business majority of it has been just in Cape Coral. There's a lot of demand for this area, and it's just there's a lot happening here. So if there's somebody's ever considering Florida, give Cape Coral a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all.
Nice. And how's the market down there? How's the housing market?
Well, for buyers right now, it's a great time because the prices actually are down. What a lot of people don't realize is, after COVID hit, the Fed had to do something serious to get the economy stimulated again. So they lowered the interest rates pretty low. I remember when we came down here in 2020, I refused to rent. So we ended up buying a townhouse right away, the nice gated community. We got a 2.99% interest.
Yes.
That's incredible. It's free money essentially. But because of that lower interest rate, there was so much demand for homes. A lot of buyers hit the market. And so what happened across the United States, the demand exceeded supply. Well, property values went through the roof. I remember by 2021, the townhouse that I bought went up in value by 50%
Oh my
in a
God.
matter of months. In a matter of 2 years, it went up by about 75%. And that happened across the US. And I remember in 2022 in Cape Coral at one point, we only had 600 homes on the market. And that's very, very low inventory. I'm
Right.
talking like 3 weeks of inventory levels. And so there's so much demand. We didn't have a lot of inventory. And then we started getting a lot of investors building out here. And then we got a good amount of inventory to meet the buyers' demands. And then we got hit with a hurricane head on. And so that kind of set us back 5 years. And what happened actually as a result of that, and then as a result of kind of the interest rates also going up to like 7, 8%, the demand started going down. The prices were still up there. So actually, over the last 2 years, prices on resale properties, existing homes, they're kind of come down about 20, 25%. But we have so much inventory for new construction, which is, imagine, you know, a new house that you have a lot of options to a brand new house. You get that peace of mind and it's still affordable. And so you can get a brand new house on like a water frontage down here in the $600,000 price point, you know. So we still have that inventory out there, but right now we're about 2,800 homes on the market, single family homes in Cape Coral,
Hmm.
new construction and existing homes. But once you start breaking it down, like I just started working with a client out of Iowa, and they tell me, they want a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, no more than 10 years old. They want a pool that was a must, and no more than 400,000. When I broke it down in the areas that they wanted to be, which was like southwest and southeast Cape Coral, and then like northwest Cape Coral, there was only 7 homes that fit their criteria.
Wow.
So, so we do have a lot more inventory than we had back then. But once you start breaking it down to what people are looking for, it's still not there. So, but we still have a lot of options. So if people are considering this area, you still have a lot of homes to choose from, compared to some other places, especially with new construction.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And let's shift gears for a second here. We are a technology company, so I want to ask you about how you've seen technology change in real estate for you over the time you've been in this space.
Well, technology has helped us a lot, actually. We use a lot of different technology to help us be more efficient in the business. But main thing is we have electronic boxes where we can track when people are going and coming to the homes that we have on the market. To this day, you'll be surprised, $1 million homes and agents still have the regular lock box.
Yes.
So you got to be more efficient with that. But we've utilized AI also to help us be more efficient in our marketing and coming up with better content. So we're exploring that even more. And even further. But one of the next big things that we do is we're pretty big on marketing. So like when we take on a listing, for example, we make sure we always do professional photography. And if the house is vacant, because we also sell a lot of new construction, we always invest in virtual staging. I can't tell you how many times I get a call from somebody that says, "Hey, my client really likes the house, but they're also interested in that furniture. How much is it for the furniture?" Like, I'm glad they like the furniture. It's not real. You know, it's a vacant home. We stage it to give you an idea what it can look like with furniture, but it does help people visualize what the house looks like with
Right.
furniture, because sometimes they have a hard time visualizing. So we use that. We also use a lot of drone footage to really show people the neighborhoods, their aerial locations on there, to really showcase the property itself. And that is what's really worked for me a lot in expanding the business and marketing, especially free marketing or inexpensive marketing, is like putting yourself out there on the free social media channels. One of the big ones that I like to utilize and I actually enjoy doing is YouTube. I saw this interesting statistic the other day. They were saying out of state buyers, about 73% of them use YouTube to research the area they're going to be moving to before they pull the trigger. And that just gave me additional confirmation that I was doing the right things,
Yes.
reaching, potential buyers and sellers for my business.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, this we'll find this on you'll find we'll all find this on YouTube with all the other podcasts that we've done. It isn't to find real estate, but it's another place that you're going to show up that you can, hashtag yourself back to where you're, you know, other social media that you're using. I mean, that's how we use it. It's, this is fun for me, and it's also promotion. So, I mean, when those two go together, it's a win-win.
I see it the same way, and I've done many podcasts and I get invited to these all the time, but finding the time to do it, so I try to do about 2 or 3 a year at least, because we have a simple saying when it comes to marketing, it's everything works, nothing doesn't.
Yes.
It's so simple. So, I mean, but I'm putting myself out there as an agent. I want people to find me. I want people to know that I'm out there. I'm a market expert in this area. And when they're ready to pull the trigger, I want them to be comfortable enough to call me, to have the initial conversation with me, and to see if this is the right place for them. And it might not be. I encourage people to come down and check it out for themselves. And if it's not, hey, at least you try it, right?
So they should come down at about 7 o'clock. Karaoke starts at the bar over here. They have to be wearing their flip flops and shorts because it's still almost 80 degrees outside. Where I'm sure here it's dropped into probably the 30s, high 30s by now. And I know it's worse in many other areas. You said New
Well,
York. Are you from what part of New York are you from?
yeah, I grew up in central New York in a small, sort of small city called Utica, New York.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
it be my beginning, and then I kind of started an office, a real estate office, with my business partner in Syracuse, and then from there, we moved down here. But the other thing that people don't realize is we have an on and off season in Florida, and right now, you know, for we get a lot of snowbirds that come down here during this year because they realize how cold it is up north. So,
Yes.
farm down south, and this is typically the best time to come down because it's usually every day. It's in like mid 80s, low 80s. Towards the evening, it's in the 70s. We do get temperatures down in the 60s and even the 50s sometimes. So sometimes, believe it or not, David, I have to put on socks.
Oh, not socks. No.
But it's on season right now, so people, are out and about. And typically this starts, in like early November to about late March, mid-April. And then, go in the summer and it gets hot down here. It does, but some people hate it and they then spend their summers up north. But I actually like all of Florida. Even the summers, even the fall, the winter, get all down here. The humidity, there's something about it that I enjoy. My wife not so much, but I really do. And one of the big things that I had to do was just invest into polyester shirts instead of cotton
Yes.
because
They
it's
wick.
just yeah, cool.
Right. But it was your wife's idea to actually move to Florida. So I don't know if you keep bringing that up to her on those hot days or not, or you just leave that alone. Hopefully, you leave that one alone.
Just leave it alone because there's. I will tell you this: we were just in New York and it was cold up there, and it was just a different lifestyle. And we were there for 10 days, and when we came back, because that was the first time in 5 years we've seen the snow again and the cold. We experienced the cold. And when we got back, we just both looked at each other. We're like, "Wow, we just had it so good." So it was like a moment of clarity. It's like we definitely made the right decision coming down here, and we were just so happy in the moment. You tend to forget and not appreciate what you have until you've realized what you really have in front of you is something special. And, it took us 5 years to build what we have, and I'm just very grateful for it.
Nice. That's good to spend a moment of appreciation for sure. And I'm sure once you got, it's always that moment when you land, in the air at the airport where all of a sudden the heat starts coming to you and you're like, oh, I'm back. I'm back. And this is fantastic. They open the doors, you hit the walkway, the ramp, and it's warm and humid and all the things that you love, right? So,
That feeling that you just described, David, I love that feeling. Even that smell in the air, smell the salt water.
yes,
I love that feeling, clears up my sinuses. Not everybody does, but hey, it's not for everybody.
exactly. If it was for everybody, everybody would live there and it would be a different sort of place.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we're going to get wrapped up here, but Dean, if people want to reach you, where can they find you?
Well, just search Pelican Vista Realty. That's the name of the brokerage. Or Dean Miskic, Cape Coral. I'm all over social media. You can find all my information on there. And you can either send me an email, text message, or just a simple phone call, and we'll get on the call and find out what your needs are and go from there. Yeah, we primarily do business here in Cape Coral, but we also service Fort Myers, which is right across the bridge. And then if somebody's, looking to go even, further south from here, we've done business down in Naples, but majority of businesses is right here in Cape Coral.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story and your insights today. And thanks to everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow Technologies Now AI channel on YouTube. You can find us on LinkedIn and wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, stay curious, stay innovative, and keep building your edge. Thanks for listening to Technologies Now, the Business Edge.